We would like to thank your sponsor, Valley First, a division of First West Credit Union and a member-owned financial cooperative serving the Okanagan, Similkameen, and Thompson regions. They offer a wide range of banking and investment services for individuals and families. Valley First also has a talented business and commercial team to provide the expertise, products, and services local businesses need to grow and thrive.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Business Matters, presented by Valley First, a division of First West Credit Union. My name is Rob Capello, and today we welcome back, he's been on here before, Karl Reddick to Business Matters. Karl, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
No problem. So Karl's a wealth advisor at Valley First. So September usually typically represents back to school. But today we're going to go back to school. We're going to explore some good financial health for our children, which is a topic that sometimes we don't have the chance to talk to our children about. So I'm excited to kind of explore that. But some people just don't know where to start. So Karl, you're going to share some advice for us. But before we do, I thought maybe we can just set a little bit of the foundation of what is your role as a wealth advisor entail? What does sort of day-to-day look like for you in your role?
Yeah, so as a wealth advisor here at Valley First, a lot of what I do is geared around sort of the financial planning aspects of someone's picture, particularly around when we think about sort of retirement planning, investment planning, estate and tax things, sort of all of those sort of bigger picture sort of ideas when it comes to someone's financial picture. So it's interesting work for sure, and something I really enjoy.
Imagine. And so how long have you been at Valley First?
I've been here since 2021. Moved to Kamloops that year, so it's been a couple of years I've been here. But I've been in the credit union system since 2009.
Okay, and what were you doing before? I'm curious, always curious, like what gets people into the industry. So what attracted you to the industry originally when you got into banking or the financial side?
Yeah, I mean, I did business courses at the University of the Fraser Valley, and one of the sort of courses I excelled at there was the financial mathematics course, and felt that working at a financial institution would lend itself well to that skill set, and it's been great. I've really enjoyed working in a credit union, especially the credit union system itself. Sort of very aligned with my values around sort of helping people see their value potential no matter where they're at in their journey when it comes to finances and life. And so it's been a really good fit for me.
So this is our chance to wave the Valley First flag somewhere. So what drew you to Valley First? Like, what do you love about, because you said, in another institution before credit
Right.
union, but what drew you to Valley First?
Well, moving to Kamloops, there was a number of credit union options here. The credit union I was working for before wasn't in the Kamloops area, and so I needed to explore a different avenue. But Valley First, being a part, of course, of the Greater First West network,
Right.
Which includes the Envision branches in the Lower Mainland and Island Savings on the island,
Yeah.
was very attractive for me in terms of coming from the Lower Mainland, and when that I had a broad connection of other places throughout BC to potentially work with or be with in the future if things change for me again with family dynamics and things that were at play. But First West as well, it's sort of the overarching body we belong to, very sort of passionate about, again, helping members where they're at, and being involved in the communities as well, which is something that I've, really sort of valued in my time here. So yeah, it's been great to be here.
It's interesting because I was on the island about a month ago and talking to the team at Island Savings, and there was a little bit of a light bulb that went off that with me, and I'm like, I never even thought, like, from a client perspective, that you're covered across pretty much with First anywhere you are. Not that you wouldn't be
Yes.
covered anyways, but with your sister brands out there, that you could walk into a branch on the island or Vancouver and they'd be able to help you, which I thought never really clicked into me till then. So I'm glad that
Mm-hmm.
you kind of expand on that as well, because there's a whole family that falls under First West Credit Union. So
There is, yeah, it's really good.
awesome. So let's talk about the topic, which is, I'll say financial literacy and with our children. So maybe we just start out. Why do you think it's important to teach our children about money? I know my kids are really good at spending money. So,
Exactly.
so maybe talk a little about what the importance is around sort of teaching our children about money.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of things in life, if we don't start early and develop good habits and a good foundation, it can be difficult to sort of pick up those skills and habits later on in life. And so finances in particular is an area that is with us lifelong. There's, many things that we do, of course, that are directly financially related, but also, areas outside of our finances directly can be impacted by how we manage our finances. And so if we can, try to find ways to establish those good habits of saving and being sort of responsible with our spending at an early age, hopefully it will, translate into success financially down the road, or even just sort of, not having to worry about being in a difficult spot financially in the future.
And it's interesting, I feel like sometimes parents struggle to talk to kids about this, and it could be time, lack of understanding. I don't know, is it a taboo topic at the household? Like, well, why do you think people sometimes struggle to do this?
Well, I think what you said there is exactly right. Time is a big one. I mean, I've got 3 kids at home myself, in sports and other activities in school, and my wife and I are busy as well with work and different things. And so it's hard to find time to, you know, sit down and sort of talk about different financial topics. And it might feel a bit daunting too as a parent to say, well, my child is, maybe just getting into elementary school. What do I say to them about, how do I explain compound interest to that age group? It's difficult to maybe sort of talk about these kind of things. So there's, yeah, certainly probably a lot of sort of perhaps anxiety about, how do I broach the topic? Maybe I don't know a lot about it myself. Where can I go to get resources or help if I need assistance? And how can I make it relevant for my kids as well, so that they actually soak in what I'm saying and apply it down the road. So there's definitely a variety of challenges that present themselves when you're trying to convey financial concepts to your kids.
Fair enough, fair enough. Yeah. So and then like how early should we be teaching our kids about money? Like you mentioned, sort of kids are kindergarten. Like when is a good time? Is there ever, that for you to start introducing some of these concepts into for children?
For sure. Well, I mean, I think a lot of times these days it feels like kids, when we talk about birthdays, for example, they're getting
Mhm.
money from grandparents or parents even, or relatives, because it's, kids these days are tough to buy buy
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
And so those can be great times to sort of begin talking about the idea of maybe saving some of the money that they've received, as opposed to spending it right away on a trip to the candy store or
Right.
the toy store or something like this. Trying to get this idea across of delaying sort of the gratification of spending that money, because that idea, you know whether it's finances or other aspects as well, the idea of sort of not immediately trying to sort of satisfy a want, and sort of thinking about it, and perhaps pushing something off into the future where there could be better alternatives, or you could do more with what you have because you've been able to have it grow for you a little bit. Those kind of things are good topics. So it's tough to say, an exact age. Parents probably would have a better understanding about sort of
Right.
each child, that, are they ready to have those conversations or not. But even just sort of, mentioning to them, hey, like, you've got this money, there may be some things you want to get now, but what about if we were to save a little bit of this for, next summer, when maybe you're a little bit older and you have, a thought about something different you want to do. Um,
Hmm.
Kind of slowly sort of integrating those kind of ideas are good things to do for sure.
And are there you mentioned sort of the birth of money and thought that's a neat way to kind of start introducing the concept. There's other like ways that you can help maybe younger kids understand some of these concepts, like so that it's not daunting for them or the parents.
Sure, yeah. Um, there's little games you can play even. There's, like Junior Monopoly, or,
Okay, yeah.
even, there's other games that's how we played at our place. Um, there's a
Life or
Mario themed
something.
game of life. Yeah. So
Yeah,
the,
yeah,
the actual game of life, the original version, is fairly complex, I would say,
yeah,
for
yeah.
for kids to understand. But this Mario version that we got, again, you're collecting coins as you go along the route to the end to fight Bowser. But the idea of collecting coins and trying to save them as opposed to spending them on things is kind of built into that. And
Hmm.
so, a young child can, start to understand, hey, if I use all my coins this turn, I have no coins for the next turn for something else. Maybe I should, keep some of these aside for the next go around. So things like that, little games you can play with kids to, start introducing these concepts of saving, or, again, sort of delaying spending what you have until the future.
Yeah, it's great. I have teenage kids, so now, and they're probably not going to play the kids version of games. So what about as they get into teenage years when, maybe they have a part-time job and they're starting to make, so what are some ways that you can get these concepts to maybe on older kids?
For sure. I mean, at that point, I would imagine that, as teenagers, they might have their own bank accounts already.
Mhm.
And so certainly going into whether it's Valley First or wherever sort of you're dealing for the teenagers banking,
Right.
talking about, okay, if you've got automatic payroll coming in because you've got a part-time job somewhere,
Yeah.
let's, open up a savings account, maybe a couple of savings accounts if you've got some goals or different objectives you have that they want to achieve, whether it's buying a car or going on a trip in the summer with some friends. And let's sort of start to automate some of these savings into these different accounts and keeping that money separate from your spending so that you can actually sort of visually see, hey, I'm sort of building up money towards this goal. I can sort of see progress happening as opposed to kind of keeping it all in one account and not really having a true line of sight of what is sort of set aside for which purpose down the road.
Interesting. One of the topics I think that maybe some parents agree or disagree with is interesting is allowance. Like I didn't grow up being given any allowance, and for many reasons. One, my parents didn't have extra money to give out; they just were
Sure.
right. That's one reason. But do you
Yes.
think if you're able, do you think it's wise to give kids an allowance?
I think the idea of an allowance is good, but I think there needs to be some sort of work, if you want to call it that, or chores, or something that the child needs to be doing to be earning that allowance. Just sort of giving them the money doesn't sort of really instill that concept of working hard and sort of generating your savings yourself. So finding ways to link that allowance to activities they're doing around the house, or perhaps if they're doing well in school, there's different things there. Perhaps you might want to sort of link some sort of allowance to, but having it tied to this idea of them sort of earning and sort of generating that for themselves will sort of again create that habit of, hey, when I'm finished school, I'm gonna have to maybe start doing something to sort of generate savings for myself so that I can do the things I want to do.
And how interested and curious, when do you think is a good time to actually bring your child in to meet someone like yourself? Like, is I guess everyone's different, I get it, but typically when, and do you do those sort of where you'll sit down with a parent and a child and talk a little bit about the fundamentals of sort of investing stuff? Like, when does that usually happen?
For sure. I feel like probably sort of that 11, 12, 13-ish age is kind of a point where kids maybe start to kind of really understand
Right.
some of the dynamics about sort of having money coming in and saving and these kind of things when they're coming in to sit with us
Right.
at the credit union. Younger kids are often pretty shy and, it's sometimes sort of more difficult for me in my sort of professional
Yeah.
context
Yeah.
to really have sort of those conversations with kids. But in that sort of 10, 11, 12, 13 age, they're starting to sort of have a bit more confidence. They're starting to sort of build their own sort of ideas about things when it comes to this kind of stuff. And those are times where it's, we can have some conversations about, okay, you've got a checking account, let's
Right.
open a savings account as well. Think about sort of funneling some money perhaps into that as you start to sort of receive things from, like, as birthdays or working part-time or these types of things. Um, and one of the things as well that can be good to talk about is, there's the spending aspect, there's the saving aspect also, but also how are we sort of being good community citizens? What are we doing to perhaps put some money aside to help others out there, whether it's those who are less fortunate or different sort of
Yeah.
causes that we sort of align with, to provide some support there as well. That can sort of create again this idea of having an open hand when it comes to sort of your finances and sort of being responsible enough to know that you've got your needs covered for, but maybe I can help somebody else out as well.
Do you think that I'm thinking back into when I was growing up, it was cash. Like you got given money, actual money that you went to or now it's, the digital age, it's cashless. Do you think that
Yes,
there's maybe an issue with the value of money because it's invisible, right? I don't know, you stick it on a credit card, you use your debit card, you tap your phone. Like, is that a different challenge now for like the kids that are coming up?
it definitely is for sure. Yes, this sort of intangible nature
Yeah.
of currency kind of, yeah, makes it feel like it's almost, like not like a real thing. It's just kind of, oh, I've got this card that will kind of do what I want to do.
Mm.
But behind that card, at the end of the day, is money that you've had to accumulate and earn. And if you don't have sort of this tangible connection to the value of that and how quickly it can go, and also how quickly you can save if you put your mind to it. It can be difficult again to sort of have those sort of good financial habits. So another sort of neat thing that I've seen done before as well is actually having 3 piggy banks at home, or 3 mason jars, whatever sort of it is. And again, sort of one of them is the spending jar,
Yeah.
one of them is the saving jar, and one of them is the giving jar.
Hmm.
And when you get money from whatever it is, you sort of allocate money into those different piggy banks or different jars, and you can sort of then physically see, okay, well, I've got money set aside for these different things, and if I want to go spend, I can only use the spending jar. I can't dip into the savings jar or the giving jar. Um,
That's interesting.
that
I
kind
love
of
the
concept
concept.
can,
Yeah, I
yeah,
love
can
the
maybe help
giving
with
concept.
that a little bit.
Yeah, I love that
Mhm.
giving concept. I've never even thought of that, but that's a neat way to another thing to add in for sure, because it's something that I think that, yeah, I always think about savings and spending, but the giving side is a unique angle. Is there, do you find that as you're doing with the younger generation now, with things like you get asked things like cryptocurrency or any, like, does that make it even more complicated because they're hearing things on the internet, and like, so I'm curious from a, is there advice that you can give parents on that side of, like, when child's like, well, I'm gonna go buy Bitcoin, and I'm you don't want to squash the idea of, hey, yeah, they're looking at investing and stuff like that, but hey, maybe it's not a safe place to put your dollars. Like, is there some value or some advice or you can give parents around that?
For sure. I mean, I would say when we think about things like cryptocurrency, it's a very sort of nebulous world, and
Mhm.
even myself, to fully comprehend how that all
Yeah.
works and what's actually happening there is very difficult. Um, Whenever sort of a child or a teenager is expressing interest in investing, it's good to come in and talk with a
Right,
financial
right,
institution,
right.
to sort of get some solid framework and sort of base level understanding what the different savings plans that are available for someone to take advantage of. The sort of more mainstream, I guess we'll say, sort of investment options that are available to you. Because the adage goes that the higher return you're looking for, the higher risk you're going to be taking
Right,
on. That goes hand in hand.
right.
And sometimes that concept is pushed to the side when we're talking about these sort of flashy, interesting kind of investment ideas and concepts. So it's good to sort of understand this dynamic between those two things, risk and reward, critically important throughout life. Whether you're younger or sort of moving into retirement years. Um, but there's a lot of good resources for financial literacy, of course, coming in here, but also going to different online resources. The Financial Consumer Agency of Canada has a
Mm.
lot of financial literacy programs and information there. And there's also a nonprofit organization, Junior Achievements of BC,
Yeah.
which does a lot of volunteer work in the schools. But even on their website, you can sign up as a parent to enroll in some of the programs free of charge. I've done that myself, and you can access information there that's geared towards students, whether it comes, whether it's about sort of finances specifically or entrepreneurship, these types of things. Really good resources there as well to kind of gain more understanding and more knowledge about sort of what those different topics look like.
Do you ever get to go into schools and talk about this sort of stuff? Because I think, and it's probably an area that should be, like, I think it would be interesting to have starting at, because you have their attention in a classroom, or maybe some of their attention in a classroom. But do you ever go in and do any of that?
I have in the past, yeah, and it's really sort of interesting. There's lots of good questions that come from students when you're there, sort of in that classroom context or in sort of
Right,
that
right.
group setting. Um, and being a bit removed from the high school system myself now for a number of years, I don't know sort of what the
Yeah,
current
right.
curriculum and things are when it comes to financial literacy, but I definitely think there probably could be more done there to help kids sort of really have a good foundation coming out of high school when it comes to understanding sort of their finances and the implications of choices that they
Mhm.
make as they get older. Um, yeah, it's definitely an area that I think we need to do more work on for sure.
Interesting. Well, it's definitely clear that teaching our kids about money is definitely will set them up for life. I know how, like, I think, like I said, it's sometimes not taught in school, or it's off limits to discuss at home for many reasons. So thanks for giving some advice. I think there's some really cool tips that you gave that I didn't even thought about as well, that people can use to raise sort of like money smart kids, which is really what we're trying to do. So
For sure.
if anyone's listening, I know if they're have any questions, I know the team at Valley First is amazing. Reach out to Karl or his team, and they'd be happy to talk and answer any questions, because I'm sure we might have not covered everything, but thanks for at least giving some great tips this morning.
Definitely. Thank you. Yeah, my pleasure.
No problem. Thanks, Carl. And everyone else, have a great rest of your day. And thank you for tuning into Business Matters. Thanks, Carl.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
We would like to thank your sponsor, Valley First, a division of First West Credit Union and a member-owned financial cooperative serving the Okanagan, Similkameen, and Thompson regions. They offer a wide range of banking and investment services for individuals and families. Valley First also has a talented business and commercial team to provide the expertise, products, and services local businesses need to grow and thrive.